Hey there movie fans, it's your boy Peter Pablo, and today we're talking about Jojo Rabbit.
Nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah, I know, it's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi.
There was never a good time, kid. Jojo Rabbit is a World War II satire, and it's about a young boy named Jojo living in Germany during the Nazi regime, who lives with a single mom played by Scarlett Johansson, and together with his imaginary friend, who happens to be a comedic version of Adolf Hitler. Jojo's blind nationalism is put to the test when he discovers a young Jewish girl hiding in their walls. Before I get to my review, I want to address something very important, which is the terrible bushfires happening in Australia. People have lost their lives, people have lost their homes, and the nation has lost so much of its wildlife. If you'd like to add a good deed to your day, please go ahead and make a donation at www.redcross.org.au. Again, that's www.redcross.org.au. I'll add a couple of links in the description below. Every dollar makes a difference, so please make a donation.
Because that's what heroes do.
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
Jojo Rabbit is a heartfelt story about love overcoming hate, and it makes fun of the biggest bullies in human history by clever use of satire. After seeing the movie, it took me a while to marinate on my thoughts. I couldn't think of anything bad to say about the movie.
I don't think I can do this.
Raz? Of course you can.
But I did come up with a couple of nitpicks. Director Taika Waititi did a magnificent job of doing a balancing act between comedy and drama. For the most part, he did an awesome job. For a tiny segment, the change of tone from comedy to drama or drama to comedy was sometimes a bit too abrupt. This movie's brilliant, just give me some time to process the last scene. And I felt that Sam Rockwell's character, Captain Klenzendorf, felt a little underdeveloped. He had some really powerful scenes in the third act, but his character arc seemed incomplete. What his character does in the third act would have been far more powerful if he had a little bit more screen time in the second act. Because his character is really interesting and I wish we had more time to get to know him better. Whew, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the good stuff.
You two seem to be getting on well.
She doesn't seem like a bad person.
The first time I got introduced to Taika Waititi was from watching his film called What We Do in the Shadows, which is another movie where he stars and directs. And it's a brilliant movie about these vampire housemates, which I highly recommend, by the way. Then I really became a Taika fan when he directed an MCU film, Thor Ragnarok. And I also know that he directed a movie called The Hunt for the Wilder People, but I haven't seen it yet. That's definitely on my watch list. And just like in his previous films, you can see a lot of Waititi-isms in Jojo Rabbit. He's got brilliant comedic timing through use of clever wordplay and slapstick humor. He played Korg, which is that rock creature with a Kiwi accent in the MCU.
Made of rocks, as you can see, but don't let that intimidate you. You don't need to be afraid unless you're made of scissors.
Here he plays the imaginary friend of Jojo, who happens to be Adolf Hitler. But this isn't the usual Hitler that we're all used to. This version of Hitler comes from the imagination of a child. He's immature, he's foolish, and naturally has the same vocabulary as our title character. Every time he was on the screen, it was a guaranteed laugh out of me. And I think this is one of the best times I've ever seen Adolf Hitler being made fun of. If somebody was to ask me who would be the best director to direct a comedy about the Nazi regime, Taika Waititi all the way, brother. It takes a lot of courage to make a movie that's this risky, dangerous, and tackles some really heavy, dark subject matter. Comedy is a hard genre to sell to an audience. And Rebel Wilson is normally hit or miss for me, but yeah, she really made me laugh in this.
Kids, it's time to burn some books!
And those heavy emotional scenes I'm talking about was a real gut punch. Oh my god, the shoe scene. Scarlett Johansson is having one hell of a year from her performance in The Marriage Story and her performance here in Jojo Rabbit. Sam Rockwell was absolutely fantastic, and Thomasin McKenzie, who plays Elsa, was a real standout of the film. The first time I saw her was in Leave No Trace with Ben Foster. Leave No Trace scored 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know about you, but I'm always skeptical when I see a score that's 100%. And I know that acting alongside a powerhouse that is Ben Foster would mean that you have to be a really good actor. And she is, and she did a fantastic job in Jojo Rabbit.
You're not a Nazi, Jojo.
Archie Yates as Jojo's best friend didn't have that much screen time, but when he was on the screen, he had that hilarious and innocent humor about him. The cinematography in this film was breathtaking, with wide shots of beautiful lush landscapes and excellent use of pastel colors. I know this is going to sound like a cliche, but every shot of this film was just like a painting. And last but not least, let's talk about the title character Jojo, played by Roman Griffin Davis. In this movie, we follow Jojo and we see the world through his eyes. He's totally bought into the Nazi propaganda. In his world, there is nobody bigger than Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was his role model, so it's only fitting that he makes him his imaginary friend. So of course, Jojo is a young fascist Nazi, until he meets Elsa, and together they foster some understanding and overcome the idea of intolerance and hate. His performance was delivered with so much innocence and honesty that you'd expect from a naive child that's totally bought into Nazi propaganda. And he did a spectacular job. Now before I share my final thoughts, just a quick reminder to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications to my weekly reviews. And now for my final thoughts. Starting off with the lows, we've got an underdeveloped character in Captain Klenzendorf and an abrupt change in tone. As for the highs, we've got beautiful cinematography, excellent performances, and hilarious satirical humor. So overall, I really love this film, and if it's still out in theaters near you, I suggest you go out and see it. I think this film is reasonably family friendly, except there are a couple of scenes that might be a little bit too shocking for toddlers. If you like movies that make fun of ignorant bullies, this movie's for you. Coming out of this film, I felt like I was inspired to be a better person, and it reminds us that love will always triumph over hate and intolerance. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit yet? If so, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. And while you're there, let me know what I should review next. And who am I, you ask? I'm Chris Hemsworth. Bye for now.